us know when you're... First of all, please state your name for the camera.
Dr. Joseph Rosado.
Do we have permission to use your image and video, your messaging, your voice, to spread this message about legalization of medical marijuana?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so we have your consent?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to say, let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
What was the motivation? What was the driver? What made you think, I'm going to add this area to my practice?
Well, it goes back a while from medical school. When I was in medical school and studying pharmacology and understanding different things and different alternatives in treatment, that's where the bug kind of got in my head. And then fast forward to when Arizona became legal. They decriminalized marijuana for medical purposes. One of my very best friends lives and practices in Arizona. He's a chiropractor, and he has property, and he was envisioning, growing some marijuana for patients, providing the plants for the patients. And in the strip mall where his practice is, there was an empty facility, and he said, look, we can make that into a dispensary, and the way the laws are in Arizona is that each dispensary has to have a medical director.
Right.
And he said, you could be the medical director for the dispensary.
Right.
You see the patients, and you qualify them, they go to the dispensary, and they purchase, whatever.
Right.
So it was all set, but at the time, his son, which is about the same age as my twin daughters, they were maybe 15, 16, and his wife's like, I don't feel comfortable with this idea. We're telling our son, don't use drugs, no to drugs, and here we're going to be promoting marijuana or the use of marijuana, so the whole project was squashed.
Okay.
Fast forward to 3 years ago, when Amendment 2 was the buzz, and they were talking about decriminalization of marijuana, and John Morgan was on TV, I sent him an email.
Okay.
A personal email on their website, and said, I'm a physician. I support, the use of therapeutic cannabis for medicinal reasons, and how do I get involved? And the next day I got a call from one of their secretaries in South Florida, and that evening I got a phone call from Ben Palera, and he tried to talk me out of it. It's like, look, you really don't want to get involved, because at the time I was working for the state of Florida. I was an employee of the state.
Okay.
And he's like, you don't want to get involved with this. You really want to be mindful of what you're doing. A lot of doctors come to me and they say they want to do this, and then at the 11th hour they back out, or they get a lot of pushback from a lot of doctors or their colleagues. And I said, okay, whatever, I'm in it for the long haul. And so I did, and 6 months later I was no longer working for the the state of Florida, which was, to my benefit, I guess.
Right.
But continued on. 2014, we lost, Amendment 2. Continued on with Amendment 2 as a speaker on the Bureau of Speakers.
Okay.
And did commercials, a lot of TV, radio on Spanish channels, primarily, not so much the Anglo market. And then towards the end of last year, right before the elections, come like September, October-ish, I went to South Florida, did a lot of media there, was on Mega TV, was on Univision, was on Caracol Radio, was on Univision Radio, and did a lot of stuff for them, as well as interviews. I've been on, newspaper and so forth.
Okay.
Done some, not debates, but round circles with sheriffs and, advocates and Representative Getz up in the Panhandle area. He's from Fort Walton. He was instrumental in the writing of Senate Bill 1030.
Okay.
And so he was present. I've made my rounds throughout the state, from the Panhandle all the way down to South Florida. And
so it's clear that you've been a long-time advocate, that you've considered all aspects of it. You had, there were hesitations, and you were encouraged to rethink your position, and you took a strong stance that this is medicine and this is the right thing for your patients. and for the overall population.
Yes, ma'am.
As far as treating your patients, what's your decision-making process as far as determining which of your patients is a good candidate for medical marijuana?
If they fit into, right now, Senate Bill 1030 diagnoses,
Okay.
which are epilepsy, chronic conditions that cause seizures, chronic conditions that cause muscle spasms, and cancer, and then the right to try, which allows for individuals that are terminally ill, and that's defined by the state, anyone that's that has 1 year to live if nothing is done for them, then, and they've been on multiple treatments and everything else, I approach them.
Okay.
But because I've been so verbal and I've been on TV and radio already, I was the first physician to recommend therapeutic cannabis for a patient with stage 3 brain cancer and a 15-year-old boy that's on hospice with a terminally ill, head and neck cancer. I've been on, TV in Volusia County, and so the patients already know who I am,
Right.
and so they approach me before I make the approach.
Excellent. There's been a lot of controversy, a lot of news headings related to doctors not knowing when they can start referring amendment to patients. So you mentioned Senate Bill 1030, and that seems to be your what you use for your diagnosis currently. What will be the trigger? What will be the thing that makes you migrate to looking beyond that to the amendment to patient?
Once the state of Florida says I can.
Very good answer.
And as of this moment, what is written is that September 3rd, it would be the first day that I would legally be able to implement Amendment 2, the broader diagnoses of Amendment 2 to my patients.
What is your caution to physicians who may believe that they can already start referring amendment to patients?
Don't do it.
Counsel for Minorities for Medical Marijuana. I'm a cannabis law attorney at Dumar, Allsworth, Laystrom, Voigt, Wax, and Adair, LLP. And I'm here with Dr. Rudy Moises.
Moise, you have to put that little French
Moise.
accent. Moise.
Oh, Moise. I'm here with Dr. Rudy Moise.
Yes.
A doctor who has been recognized as a leader and an advocate for the medical marijuana movement. Thank you, Dr. Moise, for having this time with us today. What started your interest in investigating the healing of, capabilities of medical marijuana?
First of all, before I answer your question, I want to know when would your name, Powell, be included among all of these names of your company? Because nice for you to
That is a work in progress. First of all, I have to evaluate what my long-term plan looks like, whether it's more beneficial for me to be associated with a list of names, or should I have my own name as a shining star all by itself.
All right, very good.
Thank you so much. But it is a work in progress, and I love my firm, and I plan to have a long-term relationship with my firm in some type of capacity.
Excellent, very good.
Thank you.
Now let me answer your question.
Yes, sir, you may.
I have been following medical marijuana for a very, very long time, for several years.
Okay.
I go to Colorado every year. We go skiing with the family. And of course, we go visit dispensaries over there just to see what it is. I know California, I've had it for a long time as well. So, and I've been reading on the efficiency, how cannabis actually has been successful in treating certain indications and of course certain conditions. And one of the key things is the story about Charlotte Webb, the young girl in Colorado that actually been, I tell you, the change has been very drastic in terms of what the treatment has done. And that kind of, started, some kind of revolution.
Medical marijuana may make such a big difference for you.
Let me give you a card with a
My parents are very pro
medicinal marijuana for
Absolutely.
me. They've seen the tremendous change from my eyes when I'm anxious and enraged, and how I just take a couple hits and I'm so relaxed.
Right.
My medicine.
And so the quality of life with your family, those that you love, has been affected positively with now that you are being able to receive the medication.
They're very relieved because every time I left the house, they didn't know if I was going to be arrested.
Absolutely.
Get a phone call from jail.
Right.
You know, I'm a veteran. I'm not a derelict.
Absolutely.
But that's what happens if you get caught with medical marijuana. Prior to now, I'd have to face incarceration for medically using something that not many people understand.
Right.
Facts.
Right. Right. Are you active in the veteran community? What's the thoughts with, and if you are, or if you know other veterans, their thoughts in regards to having this as an option for care?
I know a lot of disabled veterans that can't wait until this happened. Post-traumatic stress disorder is severe, and you need help. The chemicals that the pharmaceutical companies put out, the side effects are atrocious. I've been placed on about 40 different medications from 1994 till present day. And they just they don't work like THC does.
Okay. So, going forward, your relationship with Dr. Rosado, this is something that you support not only for yourself but for other individuals who are facing. And what would you tell them in regards to the stigma that's been out there in the past? If you had to encourage, what would be some of your words of encouragement to say it's okay?
Don't be afraid. It's not going to hurt you. It helps.
Choosing this treatment, and there's a website also where you can get
I'm not a drug addict, and I'm not substance abuse. I have.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm against chemicals. I dislike them. I don't even drink alcohol, but I do medically use marijuana.
Absolutely.
And it works for me, and it will work for you as well.
Thank you so much, Heather. I think you're brave. It's just awesome in regards to you sharing your story with us, and we really appreciate it. Thank you so
very
much.
much.
You're welcome,
Thank
sweetie.
you.